So here we are at one of our display cases. This one here, we're going to show you a lot of items from the original trilogy. A lot of stuff from the 1976, 77 to just coming up to the prequels into, that would be 1999. So a lot of good items here. So yeah, let's take it away.
Okay, now in 1977, we didn't know there was going to be a sequel, but we had a pretty good idea there was. And you got to understand that the people at that time was just eating up Star Wars. They just wanted more. So the books came out, like the first Star Wars book, and it was, something to kind of appease everybody until the next movie, which we found out took 3 years to make. So from A New Hope to The Empire Strikes Back, that was 1980. That we had to wait for something else.
Yes.
And then from Empire to Return of the Jedi, another 3 years, 1983. So there's your life filled with whatever you can find. There was a book by Alan Dean Foster called Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Oh, yeah.
That was huge because a lot of us thought that was going to be Empire Strikes Back. And it takes place right after A New Hope ends. Mm-hmm. So, it was something to kind of give the fans something. But then this is when they also opened up the concerts. Mm-hmm. John Williams, who was the composer of the Star Wars music.
You mean John Williams, the soundtrack of my life?
There's a funny little backstory. I saw a movie called Jaws, and I was so moved by the music. Not so much, the movie was, but they didn't ever have to show the shark. You just had to hear the music. So when the movie ended, I saw who the composer was, and it was John Williams.
Wow.
And so when we found out he was doing the music for Star Wars, it was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And so, from Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Star Wars: A New Hope. Of course, this is the CD, but we had the albums, and it was magnificent. And then they even came up with a version called the Star Wars Story, and so it kind of took it from A New Hope, and it just kind of embellished it a little bit more.
Now, so we had the books come out. Okay, we had Splinter of Mind's Eye come out. Now that was actually written as a pseudo sequel in case the movie wasn't that good. I mean, and they didn't have the budget to make Empire, so they had that as kind of the sequel. Wasn't there another production of Star Wars that was like on the radio?
Oh, yes.
Like it was to further the adventures or to give more story to it, or the original. I think they take the original script and turn it into a radio drama.
Correct. And it was on public radio, NPR.
National Public Radio, that's right.
And it was called NPR Playhouse. And it was a play, but all dialogue. The thing is, it was produced by USC. And since Lucas was a graduate of USC, he contributed the sound effects. He contributed the music. And Mark Hamill played himself as Luke.
Yeah, they had Mark Hamill in the cast, Anthony Daniels for C-3PO, and I think Lando, the Empire and Jedi, they had, not Lando Calrissian, Billy D. Williams, of course, oh man, in there. And Carrie Fisher was not able to do it. I don't remember why, but I know Harrison Ford was not able to do it because he was kind of in the middle of a production of another movie called Indiana Jones.
And the music by
John Williams.
There you go. So when the radio drama came out, it took George Lucas's original script, and they embellished it. They gave it more detail than what the movie had. So you get to see Luke discussing the space battle that he saw while he was at his farm. So it was like, it just added more detail to the movie that we didn't have before. There was also a big scene with Leia on her home planet and how she found out about the Death Star. So it really was fantastic. And this is the set for Return of the Jedi. And you see the technology.
What is that, Larry? An audio tape?
Yes, it is, Paul. These, these were like everything to us. We had them in our car, cassette players, and we were able just to hear the story. And it was magnificent.
Yeah.
They did such a great job because the music was involved. The actual special effects were involved. So when you hear a TIE fighter, you hear a TIE fighter. Of course, there's a lot of explanation. Oh, did you see that TIE fighter?
Well, yeah, and being audio, you had to give it more of a dramatic effect to it, because you can't just hear pew pew and then you don't know what's going on.
And that's it. And there were a lot of skeptics that thought, no one's going to buy into this. Why would anybody just want to listen to the stars? You can't see the ships, you can't see the planets, you can't see the battle. And the producers said, no, we've got the soundtrack, we've got the sound effects, and we've got some of the actors.
Yeah.
It will be good. And it did. It took off. And I used to work at the radio station over at Valley College, and we were KVCR. And I heard the theme from Star Wars with a narration. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, an incredible battle took place. And I was like, and they had the funny episodes, Death Star's Transit.
Oh, the titles of the chapters, yeah.
Yes.
To kind of give you a hint of what the episode's going to be about.
And wasn't there one Dark Lord?
Dark Lord, White Princess, and Pawns.
And that was referring to, of course, 3PO.
The droids, yes.
Yeah, the droids.
Yeah.
Never underestimate a droid.
All right, now we talked a little bit about the early bird special that came out with the figures. This is a Star Wars Escape from Death Star game. This is actually a reissue. This is from Target now. But this is a reissue of one of the original game that came out for Christmas in 1977. So this was actually one of the items that you could probably get in Christmas of 77. So a little board game. Pretty fun. It's Star Wars, but not a whole lot in the first Christmas to get a lot of kids are looking for action figures, and you are actually getting games and puzzles and coloring books. Something that probably wouldn't fly nowadays. You want some good stuff. Now, these are the figures. Here's an example of this is Return of the Jedi original figure, still carded, 1983. So this is what they look like. And these were the shelves were packed with these figures. And one of the best things about these figures, not just that they, look cool. I really loved how they would have a picture of what either the figure is or of the ship that they flew to kind of give you an idea of who is this? But on the back, as you see here, it has this Star Wars action figures collect all 79. So as a kid, I actually had some of these where I would be Xing out and circling the ones that I want so I can give it to my mom or my grandma and say, this is what I'm looking for. And I knew what I had and knew what I didn't have. So it was a great way to kind of really collect them all, because you have a little chart to kind of mark them off and whatnot. Now this packaging, this is an original one. Now in 1983, Return of the Jedi ended. In 1985, you were getting into the Ewoks cartoon and the droids cartoon. Star Wars fell off a cliff there. Kids that were growing up with this, and I was one of them, stopped playing with Star Wars figures. We got into G.I. Joe, Transformers, things like that. And in about the mid-90s, Star Wars came back. So what happened was Hasbro purchased Kenner, and they wanted to revitalize the Star Wars line. And so they came out with this Power of the Force line. And these are the original figures that came out on the back. So, it's only probably about, 2, 4, 6, 8, right? Figures that originally came out. And you had the Falcon, and the Land Speeder, and X-Wing, and a TIE Fighter, and whatnot. So this kind of reinvigorated the collectible line, and people started buying Star Wars figures, and it hasn't stopped since. It's gotten bigger and bigger. Every movie seems to have one, you know, and every character is getting a figure. Okay, so here we have the Empire Strikes Back, Luke Skywalker and Hoth outfit, and it says Kenner, but it's actually owned by Hasbro. This is a newer figure, came out in the, you know, only a few years ago in the late 2000s, 2000 in the teens somewhere. But this is a newer figure by Hasbro, and they've taken, it's called the vintage packaging, and they take the original packaging of the original figure, but they make a newer tool, a new cast out of it. So much more realistic. They got much better over time. On the back, you'll see, you know, while it doesn't have all 79, but it says which are out for that series. And in fact, if you look at these two here, this is a 1978, because it would have been 1978 Luke Skywalker and X-Wing figure. All right. Not much of a resemblance of Luke Skywalker, I would say, right? But then later on, this is a newer one. They've gotten much better detail. You get the blaster and you get the lightsaber, and it has everything hanging off his suit, and so it looks a lot better now. You get more detail, and it looks a little bit more like Mark Hamill than, you know, or a human than this little guy here. But that's the technology has changed on the tooling of these figures.
Very impressive. And I have to add that the enjoyment of Star Wars didn't end with action figures, music CDs, story cassettes. Mm-hmm. Hallmark saw a market for Star Wars in Christmas ornaments. And they came up with the first trilogy, of course, and there's Luke Skywalker. I think this is from Empire Strikes Back. But then they also did the ship. And one of the most famous, or infamous, is the Death Star. And so when Christmas came around and I told my mom, oh, I've got some ornaments to hang, she goes, what are
That's funny.
She was not happy. But she kind of got used to it. And then some of these had sound effects included, so that you'd be able to hear, you know, the actual firing of the Death Star, mm-hmm. or you hear a line from Luke Skywalker. But Hallmark has been doing this
since 95.
95.
Yep.
And they're still going strong.
Now, in addition to just figures and Hallmark, you know, Star Wars made almost anything. If anybody's seen the movie Spaceballs by Mel Brooks, it's all about the merchandising, right? So, of course, Star Wars was it did not shy away from different merchandising. And you may be wondering, it's like, here you have a Return of the Jedi Ewok watch, all right, digital watch, and you have a Return of the Jedi R2-D2 model. In fact, if I open this up, you'll see the side here. It's the model of R2-D2. And
that you had to pull together.
Yes, you had to glue this. You had to actually use model glue to put this.
Oh my!
To put this all together. It is not put together. I was a kid, all right. I'm like, But here's the thing. You might be wondering, you know, there's a lot of Return of the Jedi stuff out there, and that's because, you know, when the first Star Wars came out, they didn't think it would be a hit. They didn't make a lot of stuff. All right, they made a lot, but and then they started making more. And Empire, they're like, you know what? A sequel never really was successful. Empire was successful. So when Return of the Jedi came in, Kenner, who's now Hasbro, went all in and just said, we are just making all kinds of stuff. And they made quite a lot of different things and a lot of unique things out here, such as this watch, you know, which it is precision movement, anti-magnetic, and electronically timed.
And it is official.
Yes, official space timer. Now, when the movies ended, we didn't want the story to end. The movies ended, but we wanted more. And there was more. Larry showed some of the books, Splinter of the Mind's Eye. There's books like the Lando Calrissian Adventures, the Han Solo Adventures. But for kids, and adults, of course, comic books was the way to go. And in 1978, Marvel Comics got the license to Star Wars and continued Star Wars. It started off with an adaptation of the movie, and then with right after that, they continued the further adventures of Star Wars with all new a couple new characters, not all new, with Han, Luke, and Leia, but a couple new people came in, and it went on through Return of the Jedi. So it was around for 6, 7, 8 years, and this was the expanded universe for Star Wars because there weren't other movies, there wasn't cartoons, you didn't have the Clone Wars or Mandalorian and things like that, but you had those classic comic books. And you'll see here on your right, on the right side, this is a reprint of issue number 1. I didn't bring my issue number 1; it's at home. But this is a reprint of it. And then you have this here, issue number 5 of the current Star Wars. So when Disney purchased Star Wars and acquired Marvel, they started over with Star Wars and made all new adventures of Luke and Leia and Han. So this is Luke in his X-Wing. Yes. Wow. Star Wars.
And then you can see the style. I mean, from the beginning, way back in 78, you said?
Would have been 70. Yeah, the movie came out in 77. I think it was right after, so it might have been 1977 that the...
And the style. I mean, you look at, again, like with the action figure, you see the detail. You see more detail on the current comic.
In fact, here's one. This is the first few issues, still in the bag, 3 for 99 cents of the original Star Wars comics and stuff. So this is polybagged and still in there. Still smells like the 70s.
Probably. But front and center of this comic is the Falcon.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that ship has become an icon.
So here's a few more examples of the type of toys, action figures per se, as are out there. As a collector, I really enjoy the packaging of the action figures, and I do keep some in the package just to see, have a little history of what they look like. So, for example, I always like this Rogue One here because the figures would come out, and this is Star Wars Rogue One, and they would make the packaging for the movie itself. So I always thought that was kind of cool how, for Empire, they'd have the Empire Strikes Back logo. For, Phantom Menace, it'd be Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, all those different movies. The one on the right here, this Rogue One is K2SO, the famous droid in there that kicked quite some butt in it. On the right-hand side is Boba Fett. So in the Power of the Force figures that came out in 95, this is actually the 300th figure that came out. It's Boba Fett from Bespin. So he's there, shooting at Luke and whoever. But so actually got this autographed by Jeremy Bulloch, who played Boba Fett in Empire Strikes Back. So it's one of my autographed figures that I have in my collection.
This would be worth something then.
Worth something, yeah. Okay. Not a lot, don't come to my house and try to take it, but definitely worth something to me, because as a Star Wars fan, it was great, meeting Jeremy Bulloch and stuff and talking about this. This second, this middle figure that we have here is very special. This is R2-KT, and this figure came out in 2005 and was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. And what this figure was, you purchased it, and all proceeds went to Make-A-Wish Foundation. It was a figure created by a gentleman. Katie Johnson was a little girl, and she died of brain cancer. All right, so she was a huge Star Wars fan and always wanted a droid. And her father went to the droid. There's a fan through the fan group, through the 501st Legion, actually created a droid in honor of her. So it's R2-D2 in pink, her favorite color. And they named it R2-KT. And like I said, this figure is 2005 Comic-Con exclusive. And it's the little girl Katie here. And what's so great about this and about this culture, about this, Star Wars fans are a family. It's not just a bunch of geeks out there loving this space movie. It really is friendship. Mm-hmm. And this 501st group, the 501st Legion, created this figure to raise money for Make-A-Wish and to honor Katie Johnson and keep her legacy alive. And this did not come unnoticed. This figure, this character R2KD, has been in Clone Wars, or it's been in Rebels, and I think Rogue One.
I was going to say, I think I remember seeing her
Rogue One. So, what started off as just to honor this little girl, the creators of Star Wars, the creators of Star Wars are fans as well now. I mean, it's you look at Mandalorian with Filoni and Jon Favreau and stuff, and they're fans of this, and they try to put these little Easter eggs in to kind of honor things. So this is a very, very special figure in my collection, to where it honors this little girl, Katie Johnson, and keep her legacy alive.
Beautiful. That is the beauty of Star Wars. I mean, you're right. It's not just a bunch of geeks.
Yeah.
It's people who are really devoted to this and love the story and love the people that create it, that have the creativity, that understands it. Like Rogue One, you said, the best Star Wars movie.
It's right up there. It's up there.
It is, because you see the Empire, the nitty and the gritty, the underbelly of the Empire, and what the rebellion, the rebels did in the name of the rebellion.
Yeah.
So it's just awesome. I mean, Paul and I probably could talk about this for about 3 hours,
if not more.
If not more. That is beautiful. That really is beautiful.
All right, now continue with a couple different figures. Not all the figures are characters from the movie. They do make some figures that are funny, humorous, that's out there. The one on the left is the Star Wars BB Boo 20. And what this is a Disney Parks exclusive. So this was purchased at Disneyland. And this is the BB-8 Halloween figure. Okay, and so you'll see BB-8. It's the same figure. It's BB-8, but it's colored, as a pumpkin. So you have the orange pumpkin with the green stems and stuff. But it's a BB Boo 20. So Star Wars brings these out. I think they've been doing these for a few years as kind of a joke. It's cute for the holidays and stuff.
Especially Halloween.
Exactly. Yeah, it works out perfect. The one on the right here is actual figure that came in a set. It's a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. And there was a set that came out with a figure from each movie, all at the time 6 movies, from Phantom Menace to Return of the Jedi. And they were figures that weren't released back in the day, but they released it for the set. And as a chase, as the set looked like a carbon freezing chamber. And as a chase figure, this Jar Jar Binks in carbonite came out. And so what this is Jar Jar Binks in carbon freezing chamber, just how Han was in Empire Strikes Back, but has been frozen. And there was before this came out a joke that Boba Fett would freeze Jar Jar Binks. There were some pictures of it, or some artist renditions and what. And Hasbro said, you know what, let's make it and turn it into a joke figure, and it's fantastic.
It is. There is one Star Wars fan that wouldn't like to see Jar Jar in that exact predicament. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah. So a lot of different options. The figures aren't just from the movies. They've all kinds of different types of humorous and
they could laugh at themselves.
Expanded unit, yeah, exactly. They would totally laugh at themselves.
Yeah, they don't take. Well, look at Fanboys.
Yeah,
so, that movie based on a group of friends that just lived, breathed
Star Wars.
Star Wars. And I always...
Sounds familiar, Larry.
Well, I don't have my car set up to like the Falcon.
Yes, no, that would be very cool.
That would be cool. But that when Paul first showed me that, I just went, "Oh my gosh, this is beautiful."